Welcome to Trailer Geeks and Teaser Gods. I'm your host, Corey Nathan. This is where we get to speak with the brilliant and creative people who make the greatest coming attractions, movie posters, and digital campaigns of all time. This program is brought to you by the Golden Trailer Awards. And today, I am so pleased to be joined by a friend of mine, a guy I've known since pretty early in his career, senior producer at Picturehead, and most recently, the founder of the Trailer Brief, Logan Gruidl. Logan, how you doing, man? Nice to see you.
I'm good. Yeah, so nice to see you. Thanks for having me on, man. It's surreal to see you do your intro in person. I've been watching some of these recently, and it's cool to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So let's start at the beginning. Did you grow up? I know you went to SDSU, right? So did you grow up in San Diego?
No, I grew up in the Bay Area, kind of smallish town on the East Bay called Livermore.
Okay.
I think when I was growing up, there's probably like 80,000 people there. I might be totally wrong, but
Dude, you know what's funny is
mm,
my youngest kid might be moving up there.
no
Uh,
way.
yeah, like literally in a couple of weeks. I
Is that
think
John Boy?
Jackie Boy.
Jackie Boy. Yeah. Oh, I always get that wrong.
No, not Jackie Boy. Jackie Boy's, if anything, he's moving out to Vegas. He met a girl out there, and he might
Good
be
for
moving
him.
out. But he's got his mobile detailing company here. So,
Nice.
like, hey, commercial. Anybody needs their cars washed? Jackie Boy's the man. Anyway, no, Emerson. Emerson's he's Emerson's really into the music scene, specifically dubstep, EDM.
I heard
Um,
about that on one of your other episodes recently.
oh, right
I
on.
remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so you grew up in Livermore, uh,
Hmm.
and then just wanted better weather. Like what's it?
Yeah. I wanted to go, the two things I was like kind of passionate about in high school were editing and soccer. So I wanted to kind of go to a film school that had a soccer program, and I reached out to so many coaches and stuff, and it didn't work out. So I found like I only got into a couple of the schools I applied to. And then SDSU was the first one I toured, and I just fell in love with it as soon as I
Yeah,
got on the campus there. Yeah.
yeah, it's beautiful down there. So editing specifically, huh?
Yeah, it's I was lucky enough that the high school I went to had a video production class. Shout out to Mr. Castro. I need to hit up him. But yes, I found that when I was my sister's boyfriend, actually, she's older than me, so I was in middle school and he took that class and I was like, oh, this is the coolest thing.
What were they cutting on?
It was on Final Cut 10 or X or
Oh,
whatever.
Final
Yeah.
Cut X, the
Yeah.
consumer. So you couldn't really dive too deep into it. Like that was more of a consumer version of it, right?
Yeah, but it was good to learn on. It was I took the class and we had little cameras and stuff. And when I was there, we got some more funding. So it was cool. We were able to like build a whole studio and it was a lot of great exposure. But the thing that I found that I was kind of drawn to the most was the editing side of it. Mainly because I don't know, I've always felt like I had a hard time. I kind of have like creative ideas, but I have a hard time expressing them to someone. And so like being behind the camera, I had a hard time like bringing my voice forward. But if I'm in an edit bay alone, I can kind of just like do whatever I wanted to do. And so that's kind of how I fell into that. So many people would go out and shoot stuff and then just bring it to me, and I'd sit at my desk all day and just kind of cut their stuff together.
That's pretty cool. So what was that program like? Were you able to focus specifically on editorial, or did you get into shooting stuff or writing or anything else?
It was a lot of just kind of building blocks. I mean, it was enough education for like a high school kid in Livermore to like kind of feel out what they wanted to do. And a lot of people who were in that class are actually in LA working now too, which is kind of inspiring. He's doing a lot of good work there and kind of just exposing kids to other things. Because before that, all the other electives that we had were like, my dad would always say, "Why don't you take wood shop or metal shop or something? Like, why are you taking this film class for the third year in a row?" And I was like, "Shut up." Um, but yeah, and then from there, I was like, "Oh, I really want to go to film school." So SDSU had a decent program, and I was lucky enough to get in. I didn't have like the best GPA in high school, but I tested well, so I think that might have been what kind of got me in.
Yeah, San Diego State is a really good school. I mean, the whole state school system, the California state school system is really good, but SDSU, shout out to well, I don't know if he listens to this show. He listens to my politics show, my buddy Mikey. Um, he still goes for all the football games and stuff. So,
Hmm,
but
that's
yeah,
cool. They have a new stadium. I haven't been back,
oh
and we've
man,
got a couple of cool alum from that film program too. There's Destin Cretton, who directed Short Term 12, one of my favorite movies ever, and then went on to net to do Shang-Chi, and he did Mercy, I think. So he's had a great career. And then like Kathleen Kennedy goes without saying. One of my good friends from school, Valerie Bush, is killing it right now as a producer. She just produced Dee Dee and it won Sundance Audience Award, and they sold
Oh,
that to
wow.
Focus. So she's killing it too. She's definitely someone to look out for.
That's awesome. So tell me about that program. How is that program different than, say, the USC program or the Chapman program?
Yeah. So I toured Chapman and I loved it. That was my number one school I wanted to go to. But didn't get in. And honestly, like my bank account right now is so thankful I didn't get into to Chapman. But that school is great. And like the studios and the theater they have there are really impressive. And all of the equipment that they had to check out was insane. The one thing that going to SDSU they always put an emphasis on is like you own everything you shoot here, and I don't know if that is the same for Chapman and USC. I feel like the they might have I don't know changed those policies or whatever, or it might just be a marketing thing for SDSU. They're trying to get as many kids in as they can, but um, we had some nice studios, and it was kind of like an impressive um I don't know for what they had and what they were able to do. Um, we had like three studios. We had a TV studio that you can go in, and we had a class on that. You can kind of choose there's two emphases. You can either do like film studies or production. You have to like apply and do a whole separate thing to get into the production program. And then once you're into that, you're able to check out all of the equipment and stuff. A lot of it was like, I think a little bit kind of outdated when I got there, but I mean, it's all of just how you're using these tools and what you're learning that you can apply when you do and eventually get bigger budgets and that type of thing. But it was a great education, and I feel like I learned a lot. Um, yeah, I actually halfway through I got a little nervous. I was like, "Gosh, can I really make it in this film industry? Should I have a backup plan?" And I was watching Mad Men at the time, and I was like, "Advertising seems like a nice intersection there." So I double majored in film and advertising, and then I got a job at the KPBS station on campus, which does like all the local news for San Diego and stuff. So I worked there.
That must have made your dad happy that you were actually like thinking, like I don't know, like dads have a way of be like, think rationally, kid, you just
Yeah, it was more my mom actually, but it was like since when I finally told him like no, I want to do film stuff and I'm going to school to do this, he was super supportive since then, and he's been like real advocate for me. He's always asking what I'm working on and that type of thing. So I'm really lucky to have supportive parents like that.
yeah, that's awesome. I'm slowly but surely, I'm probably what, about 20 something years older than you, but like I'm slowly but surely or earning my parents' acceptance of my career choices and business
Mm.
choices. My dad's like, are you making any money at that? Are you happy? I'm like, Dad, like how much do you weigh? What, like what, that's the whole,
Yeah.
whatever.
And
Um,
you got a lot going on too. You have, like what, four businesses or
Yeah,
uh
yeah. I got the window cleaning. I invested in Jackie Boy's mobile detailing business.
nice.
The head hunting, of course, this thing, and then we still got the nonprofit. We still got the alliance going. Believe it or not,
Good for you, man.
it came up on the last. Did we record that? I forget if we shared that. So the episode that's coming out like now is with Monica for the Golden Trailers, and
Oh, cool.
she mentioned the Hall of Fame. She was like, if there was a Hall of Fame, I'm like, yes, there should be. That's why we started the alliance in the first place. But then freaking COVID happened and we had to like, do something like, I don't know, just like we ended up handing out a bunch of Trader Joe's cards for that, just because people were hurting, man. So we just had to do
Good for
something
you.
rational, something just really practical in that way. But the 501c3 still exists. And man, I do not want to give up on that dream of having a Hall of Fame for the trailer industry.
I would
Um,
love that. I feel like as someone who's kind of still getting his start in the industry and haven't been around for too long, and especially like most of my time in the industry has been during kind of this new era of COVID and work from home and that type of thing. I really don't. That's why I like your podcast, honestly. Like I hear a lot about people who I didn't know existed, like legends in the industry, and kind of another reason why I wanted to do the trailer brief is so I can educate myself more on these eras before
Dude,
I
we,
got
we we'll
into
we will
town.
dive into the trailer brief because I'm really impressed with what you've shared so far, the whole structure, and I see it like I see you absorbing people's constructive feedback and kind of, adapting as you go, and a lot of work goes into it. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay,
Mhm.
so PBS, how did you? I'm sure you knew you wanted to move up to LA at a certain point, right?
Yeah, so that was kind of, I mean, there's kind of two camps of kids coming out of SDSU. And it's like the ones who really want to go to LA and do the Hollywood thing, and then another people who like are really happy in San Diego, and it's tough to leave, honestly. But and there's a lot of good film jobs in LA, commercial work and people who are shooting films down there and that sort of thing. But
Let
yeah,
me
I
ask you
was
something.
definitely
Sorry,
in the
sorry,
camp of yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
interrupt. So when I first got to LA, you could open up the Hollywood Reporter, and I forget if it was once a week or once a month, but they had a listing of all the productions that were shooting, and then if I remember correctly, they distinguished different locations, so you could just look up the LA locations. You could literally just go walk on a set, find the
Wow.
production, the UPM, and just start working as a runner or as a PA or something. Like just get on sets. When I first got there, that was like in the
Wow.
1800s. So
No,
is
that is
is
cool.
that still
I
the
had no
case?
idea about that. No,
Oh,
I mean, it might be the case. I just didn't know about it. I was like, when I was in San Diego, I had no connections up here. I didn't really know what I was doing. And so yeah, my last semester of school, I got out of broke up with the girlfriend I was dating since high school, and kind of just like was super lost, didn't know what I was going to do. And um, I had my roommate was from Long Beach, so he's like, we can just go up and live in my parents' back house, and we'll figure it out. So um, I was like, all right, that sounds good, but I can't move up there without knowing anybody. So the SDSU has like this Aztec mentor program. And people register to be a part of it and whatever. So I signed up, I went on to that, and it was a lot of kids who like just graduated. I'm like, I don't need you to be my mentor. I'm sure you haven't figured it out yet either. But then there was one that really stood out to me. His name is Reese. I'm going to say his last name wrong. Reese Avanesian. And he was I think he was like VP of marketing at Fox Searchlight at the time. So I was like, oh,
oh,
I'll just take a shot at this. This seems like a great opportunity. So I sent him an email, and he got back to me like right away, and we were on the phone, I think that day. And he's like, "Have you ever thought about doing trailers?" And I was like, "Not really. I'm gonna edit TV shows and movies and stuff." He's like, "I really think you should consider it. Like, it's a great industry, and a lot of good people, and you can still be creative, and it's stable." And I was like, "All right, I'll hear you out." And he was a great mentor for me. I honestly like didn't see him in person very much because he was up here and I was down in San Diego. And even when I did come up, like he connected me with my first trailer gig, and I need to hit him up and like stay in touch with him more. Every time I get a promotion or something, I text him, but I've only seen him in person one time when he came to my first office. But yeah, great guy, and I owe him a lot.
that's awesome. So how did you end up getting that? Is that how you got the gig at Outpost?
Yeah, so yeah, two things that I was like, oh, before I move up to LA, I need to have one person I know, and I need to know how to cut in Avid because up till then it was all Final Cut and Premiere. And so I signed up for a class, an Avid certification class. I'd never been in it before. It was 2 days. It was in Visalia. I had to drive all the way out to
Oh man.
Visalia in a hotel room. It was at a high school out there. One of the teachers named Ellie had a class that she still offered me a student discount because I had just graduated. Otherwise, those classes are like $1,000 or something. I just could not afford it. So she let me sit in this class with a bunch of high schoolers, and I got Avid certified in 2 days. Still didn't really know what to do, but I'd opened the program before. So Reese called me and was like, "Hey, I have one of the vendors I use is looking for an AE. Do you know how to use Avid?" And I'm like, "I learned how to use Avid a week ago, so I'm ready to go." And yeah, he connected me there. I showed up in a suit for my interview,
That's awesome.
and I talked to Jeff Frame over there, and yeah, I went way too hard, man. I like graphic design. In my advertising class, we had to build like marketing materials for ourselves. So I had this really fancy resume with my picture on it, and it was like impossible to read looking back at it. But yeah, I handed him that, and he was like, "What is this? And what are you wearing?" And I was like, "Oh God, I blew it." But I think I started the next day. I was back in as an AE over there. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. And so when you went over to Grandson, is that why you ended up kind of going the finishing track? Is that because you kind of had you had exposure to it at your time at Outpost?
Yeah, so Outpost was great. They did a lot of behind the scenes stuff. They had a couple trailers, but I was there for 6 months before COVID happened. So
Oh, that's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was kind of like getting ingrained in the thing. Like my mom says it takes 6 months to kind of learn how to do a new job or like fit in at a company and stuff. So I was kind of giving myself 6 months to kind of feel confident in what I was doing before I start bothering all these editors to like, oh, what are you working on? How do you do that? What do you and so 6 months in, I'm like feeling confident. I know how to do my job. I'm ready to go talk to these editors, and then everyone gets sent home. And I was like, all right, I don't know what to do now. The only people in the office were me. There was one other AE, and then the finishing supervisor, Evan. And or finishing, he was I think head of post, but he was our finishing editor, and he's great and like an avid whiz. And so he taught me so much about finishing stuff. And the only like in bay experience I had with another editor was with him. I would just like sit behind him, watch him finish spots,
Mm.
and something about that kind of I don't know really resonated with me. I had some opportunities to like cut some do cut downs of trailers that came in from other shops and we cut recaps of like all of the Dick Wolf films like Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and those are fun, but I like kind of I think I've heard you say this before. I like getting notes is something I kind of struggle with and like how to implement and take it kind of personally. But like finishing stuff, I really was drawn to that because there's a right way to do it. And it's like if you have a note on something I sent, it's because I did something wrong and I know how to fix it because there's like a number behind it or there's like you can see something is messed up with the video. So
That makes sense why
um
you'd be drawn to finishing versus the off like the offline stuff. But before so for folks who don't know, describe finishing. Like say if somebody's in Iowa or whatever and just doesn't know the whole process, like what is finishing?
yeah, no, that's a good question. Honestly, when I started at Picturehead, that was like my first question I asked people was right before Thanksgiving. And I was like, so everyone's going home to see their families. What do you tell your families you do for work? Because I have such a hard time describing this part of the industry. So basically there's three parts of trailer editing. You know this. There's like the studios who own the film and the creative agencies that cut the trailer, and then we're like the middleman who does the final delivery. So we do like color correcting, audio mixing, any sort of like paint work, if there's cigarettes that need to go or blood that needs to be removed, we handle all of that. And then we'll make sure that everything's delivered to the final spec, whether it's going to be playing in theaters or on TV or online. They all have their different audio specs and or like
Mm.
picture specs that need to be hit. So we do like the final mastering of those and make sure everyone's happy with the files they have on time. We do versioning, so over the course of a trailer's life, it'll have like the next summer card, and then there'll be like they'll finally have a release date, and then that'll go in there. We'll master that version, and then we'll have the post-release version. It's like watch now or tickets on sale, all of that. So that's something that we handle.
And how different are so you've been at three major shops, right? So Outpost, Grandson, and now Picturehead. How different are those three shops?
Oh gosh, it was kind of a shock going from one to the other. Outpost was nice. It was kind of it was about the same size as Grandson. And when I was there, I didn't really understand the full scope of the industry either. It was um I didn't understand all the different shops and kind of what they're known for and that type of thing. But when I went to Grandson, I was like, oh, these are the people working on the movies that I like to watch. It's they get a lot of A24 movies and Focus, and Neon and
Yeah.
just HBO shows, you know?
How did you get
Um,
to spend time with your two?
oh, of course, dude. He's the best.
He's the best, right?
I
So
love
I'm
that
good, but
guy. I
so
owe
I
him so
love him to
much.
death, man. I just absolutely love Gertrude, but I'm gonna totally throw him onto the bus right now. I don't know if I've ever shared this on air. I probably told you though. So speaking of COVID, Gertrude and I recorded. I think it had to have been like June of 2020. So it was in the midst of
Mhm.
COVID. We were trying to figure out how we can continue recording and stuff. And I mean, you know how much of a auteur he is, right? So
Oh
I
yeah.
made the mistake of letting Gertrude cut his own recording And that is why the world has still not heard my interview with Garcia. The
No,
fucker.
he's an artist. You're gonna get it back, and it's gonna be the best interview that you've
You know,
ever done.
so I've had that done since I interview editors and just wonderful creative artists that are better at this thing than I am. So a few times, the time that it really helped is I had to record two separate versions of the Chad Meisner
Hmm.
interview, which you just I forget if it was this week or the first version of Trailer Brief, but you covered the Social Network trailer.
Yeah.
So we did two full interviews, me and Chad, because there was a sound issue with his
Mm.
mic on the first recording. So that one I handed over to Meisner, and he just did such a brilliant job, such a better job than I could have ever done on that. The other one, the other one was Seth Gavin. So he co-hosted when we interviewed Joel,
Hmm.
the OG from Warner Brothers, Joel Wayne, and yeah, Joel. Let's just say Joel didn't grow up in the Me Too era, so he had to protect Joel from Joel. Not that he
Oh
said
man.
anything terrible, but it was just I was glad that Seth was there to edit that one as opposed to Gavin was, anyway. But no, fucking Gertu, if he's listening or if
Uh,
anybody works still like Gertu, I want the interview out air, man, or we got to do a new one, and I'll freaking cut it. But I love that dude, and he is such an
yeah, me too.
artist.
Leaving him for Picturehead was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. It
Oh
was
man,
He's got such a great shop over there, and everyone's so nice and talented. Like you walk in and you just feel like you're in a different world. Like it's I don't know. It's the coolest office I've ever been in. It's probably the
yeah.
best job I'm ever gonna have. Yeah, I miss that place. But all
You know,
for
so just I haven't given him enough love or grandson enough love. So first of all, the thing about what grandson is, it is a reflection, I think, of Gertrude because he's so thoughtful with everything. And you
Mhm.
know what really tipped me off to it? I knew him for a long time. I knew him back in his New York days, right?
Wow.
But there was a time when they were first starting the shop, and we walked around the corner to his wife's chocolate place. I'm sure
Yeah.
you've had the
Shout out
chocolate.
Mila. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mila's
yeah. So like just everything from like the shape and the wrapping and just the
Mhm.
everything. And then I realized this is Gertu. Like
Yeah.
everything from the shoes he wears to the obviously the trailers and now the print and just digital and everything that they do. There's just so much thought that goes into every detail. That is probably one of the reasons why you're such a good finisher.
That's uh, thank you for saying that. I would love to be compared to him in any sort of way. I'm lucky enough that when I went over there, I was still an AE, but I had like the finishing background, and they kept asking me if I wanted to be like, oh, do you want to be the finishing coordinator, the finishing supervisor? I'm like, not really. I don't want to just be answering emails all day. I want to be actually doing the stuff. And they're like, you can do whatever you want. We'll just give you the title and we'll give you a little bit more money, and you can kind of manage the other AEs. And I was like, all right, I'll do that. That sounds fun. And yeah, they kind of were like really sort of hands off in the finishing process. As soon as I got in, I feel like I kind of proved myself on some of the bigger campaigns we got right when we got there. And then it was just a factory. The work's good, and so you want it to stay good. At that point, like we're not really introducing anything. So all of the trailers you see, or we try to stay as true to it as possible, whether we're getting it colored or mixed or whatever. So
Man, that's great. And so how? So okay, so Picturehead about 3 years, not 2.5, 3 years.
2.5, yeah. Yeah, that was, gosh, right before Thanksgiving 2024.
Okay,
Yeah.
2023,
So
2023.
you're right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
2023. Wow, gosh, time flies. Yeah, it was, and that was a tough decision to make too. Is when I was at Grandson, I'm talking to all the finishing houses, we're prepping spots for them. Kind of get to see how a lot of them work, how a lot of them talk to like communicate. And like I loved working at Grandson, and I kept saying like the only place I would leave for is probably to go to Picturehead because everyone that I've ever talked to over there is so nice. They kind of like respect me and are nice to me when I mess something up or have questions about what the terminology means. And but I didn't want to leave the creative side because it's so inspiring to kind of be there and see all the cuts that people are working on and going out. And I live like 3 blocks from their office. I
Oh
get to
man,
walk
that's
to
awesome.
work, and so yeah, that was it was a tough decision to make. I think it took like a year. It was I think I was ready to go like 6 months in, and then the strikes happened, and then everything kind of got put on ice. But
It's hard to make those decisions, but like it, I feel like when people when people think we've had this conversation before in the show, but a lot of times people think, oh, well, I got to make a move so I can make more money. Bad idea. Bad reason
mhm,
to make, at least in this. I don't know if all industries are this way, but in this industry, there are really good reasons to make moves. And it usually has to do with people, opportunity, projects, quality of creative, or some mix therein. And the money will come, the money will go, like depending on the industry and the economy and stuff like that. But like, if you just hang with people who really know what the fuck they're doing,
mhm.
and are passionate about it and are good people, and are committed to doing great work, one of my really good friends in the industry has this expression: grown ass people doing kick ass work. Just keep it fucking
Nice.
simple, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
No,
I
it
get why
was.
it would be a hard decision,
Yeah,
but it seemed
ultimately it was kind of like when I was a grandson, I was gosh, like 25, I think, and I was like the head of a department that didn't exist before I got there, and was training people who were some of them were older than I was, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I got trained 2 years ago, and I'm like kind of just like working off that, but we also converted from Avid to Premiere at that time, and I wasn't as confident finishing in Premiere as I was in Avid. And so I was like, there's no more room to grow, especially if I wasn't learning anything.
yeah.
So that was kind of the big reason why I was like, okay, time to go to Picturehead, be a smaller fish in a bigger pond, and it's been great. I really love it. Every week I learn something new, and I have a nice roster of clients who are kind and like collaborative, and it's great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so now we got to talk about the trailer brief. So tell us what the trailer brief is and what inspired you to start the thing.
Yeah, thanks. So the Trailer Brief, it's a bi-weekly newsletter that I've been putting out. There's 2 editions out right now. I think by the time this comes out, the third one will be alive. It is kind of just something I wanted to do to document the industry as it goes on. We're in a cool place right now where the people who founded the industry are still working, but there's also a whole new slate of editors who came up wanting to be trailer editors, which I feel like is kind of unique. And now they're working next to the people who cut the things that they were inspired by. And so I feel like that's something that hasn't really been covered a lot of ways. We also don't have like a trade magazine for our industry. Not like I want to turn this into that, especially like in my downtime, but um, I would. It's something that I had was really passionate about watching trailers, especially when I was a grandson. We'd had a weekly trailer roundup where we'd watch our stuff and people would share things that they were inspired by. So but when working at Picturehead, I'm kind of only watching things that I'm working on. Just I'm so busy. We get through so many trailers every week, and so I like was sitting at home like I really need to just kind of re-engage in the industry that I work in. So I wanted to start watching things. I felt like the way to keep accountable was to write about them. In college, I double majored in film and advertising, but the advertising degree is actually a journalism degree. So I have a lot of like journalism backgrounds that it's been fun to tap into.
That that
Um,
that that makes a ton of sense because as I've been reading it, I'm like, this he's doing reporter work. Like it comes across as just like, you do analysis, and we also hear the finishing side of you, like stuff that somebody who doesn't really know the process really intimately wouldn't know. But the writing itself, I've been really impressed by and appreciate deeply because of the report, the reporter, like investigative journalism kind of way that you go about it.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's something that I've had a lot of fun with. Just like watching something and like, oh, this is a cool cue. Where's this from? And like Shazamming it and then going down that rabbit hole of like, oh wow, this is used in I don't know, like this was the original sound effect from this
Wait, wait, wait,
video
wait. So
game or
now
whatever.
you're to talk about scooping me. So I'm gonna totally reveal how ignorant I am about the actual process itself. Shazamming it? What is that?
Yeah, so it's just like an app on your phone, or I ask Siri like, "Hey Siri, what song is this?" while
Oh,
the trailer's playing, and she'll be like, "Oh, this is this." I'm like, "Oh, okay," and then quick little Google, and we're off and running. A lot of the things I get from LinkedIn too, or honestly, like the YouTube comments are pretty helpful. Like fans of these franchises know these franchises, and they're really excited to share stuff about it. So, especially
so
like the Backrooms trailer I watched from AV Squad. Like I don't really know that web series, but the people who do really love it, and like they're in
yeah.
the comments be like, "Oh, this is the actual song, and this is that." I'm like, "Oh, wow."
That's really cool. Yeah, deservedly so. So I guess I just revealed how ignorant I am when it comes to trailer, but also how even more uncool I am because I literally just got my first iPhone about
Good for
6 months
you.
ago. Yeah, yeah. I've been
Nice.
an Android guy this my whole life, and I
Yeah.
resisted and resisted and resisted. And I finally gave in. I'm part of the cult. It's like a fucking
Oh,
cult.
I
Yeah.
was wondering, yeah, I think my text turned blue to you this time around. I was like, "Whoa,
That's right.
upgrade."
I'm blue text guy now. Everybody's giving me crap about it, man. Um, that's that's really cool. So okay, so I was curious about your process, like how you curate what you end up covering, but also
Mhm.
your writing process. Like how do you go about it's a really well crafted, well written pieces.
Thank you. Yeah, the first one was a little rougher, and then I got a lot of great feedback that kind of helped me refine the second one. That's going to make it a little bit more repeatable and digestible from a reader standpoint. Um, for the sourcing the trailers that I've been watching, I mean, it's the first time around, it was things a couple people sent me, and then a YouTube deep dive, and then staying on LinkedIn all the time, like seeing what shops are sharing. Um, and then for the news roundup side of it, has honestly like I swear I write all of this myself, but I've been using ChatGPT to kind of like, hey, what's happening in the trades this week? What is going on? And so it does like a nice roundup of like this was posted here and this is posted here, and it's like this is what it might be signaling. I'm like, okay, and then
You know,
I read all those and come
that
up with
I'm
my
glad
own
you
kind
said
of.
that because it's like I like most of us are already so busy. Like anybody who works in this industry is working a lot. So
Hmm.
I don't know anybody who has time to read through every trade, like every edition of every Variety, Hollywood Reporter, the
Yeah,
Deadline.
it
Like, so it's cool that you can. That's a really good use of of AI is to like kind of streamline the process for you to
yeah.
find those stories. So that's pretty cool.
Thanks. And that's a good, like, that's honestly another reason why I wanted to start this is because I don't know anyone who actually does read read the trades. And so I feel like myself, I'm feeling smarter and more engaged and just kind of educated on what's going on around town and what the future of the industry might look like just from reading these and routing it up. And if I can distill it down to like four bullet points for someone who just got off a 12-hour shift, and they feel better about like their knowledge on the industry too, that's a win for me. Or even like an assistant editor who's like trying to get in and not really sure what to pay attention to. The trailer brief, I'm hoping they can kind of like subscribe to and read through and feel educated on the state of the industry now and kind of glean some info on a trailer from the past that's cool, or a new stylistic choice that someone else made, or something that I think is evolving, or something that I hope to see more of.
Yeah, and also your analysis is so detailed. Is it your experience as both a creative and a finisher that gives you that kind of in-depth insight into each piece and how they were cut?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I definitely draw on that. I think working at a creative agency was helpful a lot in that because as an AE, you're prepping spots like all day. And so you get to see how these things are put together. You see the audio beds and how the graphic decisions are made, and you're not making the decisions, but you kind of really get to analyze them when you're prepping it because you have to sort everything and condense it and make sure that you're making it simpler for the finishers, but keeping the heart of the piece together. And so I feel like that's kind of a lot of where I have that experience. Um, I'm a lot like honestly, after I put the first one out, I was a little afraid that some of the leaps I've made in analyzing these trailers are so off base that someone is like, I cut this and you don't know what you're talking about. That's not at all what I was going for. which wasn't the case, honestly. The one that comes to mind was the Street Fighter trailer
Oh yeah.
that I wrote about. And I didn't know who made it at the time, but I was like, oh, this is the Four Non Blonde song was made in this year, and that's kind of when the graphic comes up for what year the thing set in. So like that's got to be true. And then the Tupac song at the beginning, I'm like, that's clever. The graph, I don't know, just a lot of things that I was trying to think about and relay. I heard from it was cut at Jax by Kelly Yoakum.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Kelly.
and
Yeah, Kelly.
yeah,
Kelly's
and
awesome.
she's married now to my buddy Mitch, who's also at Jax. And I think they're about to have a baby if they haven't already, but shout out to them. He texted me and well, actually, I someone was like, "Oh yeah, Kelly cut this." I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I wrote about something that one of my friend's wives made. She's gonna hate it." And I texted him. I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry if he doesn't like it." And he was like, "No, you kind of nailed it. Like this is all stuff we were going for." And I was like,
That's
"Oh, all
great.
right,
That's
that's
awesome.
yeah."
So that baby better be in the trailer industry. That'd be a third generation trailer baby.
I know, yeah, no kidding. It's gonna be like the I don't know who's an athlete who the Bronny James. Hopefully not the bad comparison, but
No, no, no. It would be so Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone and Brett Boone are third generation baseball players.
there you go.
By Bob Boone was her dad, and then oh gosh, their grandfather was damn it, I forgot their grandfather's name, but their grandfather played in like the 40s and 50s.
Wow.
Damn, I forgot
Yeah,
their
this
granddad's
it's going to
name.
be generational trailer talent though, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna yeah, look out. I think they named it. I don't know if he's. I'm pretty sure the name's gonna be Roman. And Mitchell's last name's Council, so it's baby's Roman Council. It's the coolest name ever. It's gonna be.
So not avid premier Yoakum or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah. Uh,
No,
Avid Jacks.
Sorry. Wait. What last name is baby going by? It's going by Mitch.
Council
Oh,
is
Council.
Mitchell's
Yeah, yeah,
last
yeah.
name. Yeah,
There
so
you go.
Roman Council. It's
That's
powerful name there.
that's awesome. So, I especially love the trailer time machine, but oh man, I realized I got to get Rosenthal on here. Because yeah, I mean, there's it's just such a great resource, man. I definitely love the social network trailer because we spent when Meisner came on, we spent time talking about that. But it's just so great.
Thank you. Yeah, it's those two. I mean, obviously, like trying to get this off the ground and running, I wanted to find something that I could research a lot about. And the first two trailers I picked, there's so much written about them. And someone who, like myself, I honestly hadn't really given them enough attention. So it was good for me to kind of dive in and
I did have a
see.
kind of this is like a fanboy question.
Yeah.
Was the Inception trailer really where the Brahm was that like the first version of it, or there had to have been other Brahms before Inception, right?
Yeah, there was an article that I linked to in there. I forget what one it was, but it's like kind of contested. There was one trailer like 2 years before that had something similar, I think, but like the one that we know and love today, I think you can point to that Inception 3 trailer.
Because they
The
kind of
first,
built the piece around it. Like that was it was a
yeah,
star of the trailer, like in a
yeah.
way. Yeah.
And the first two had kind of Brahms in them from the music from I think those were cut to the score of the film. I think I don't know, I might be wrong there, but yeah, this one is definitely like I think Variety or somebody called it a fog horn on steroids or something. And
That's funny.
yeah.
Also just like what's happening around the industry, those bullet points, as you point out, have you tested any of the AI tools for Avid or Premiere, like working with Gemini and Claude respectively?
No, I really am interested in it. One of the things I don't have like a my own personal Premiere subscription at home where I feel comfortable like firing that up and doing it. I know there's a lot of, security risks.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And so yeah, I definitely don't want to suggest anyone uses anything that their IT guys don't fully vet and like break compliance or anything. But they seem kind of cool, especially like from I'm gonna try to do a roundup in I think like 3 weeks maybe. I want to do like a bonus issue of the trailer brief where it's a little more fun and a little bit more casual with some tools that I do think could be really helpful. There are some that AEs use all around town for like shot lists and that sort of thing that are save a ton of time. But I haven't used any of the Claude or ChatGPT ones that are coming into the
What about
programs.
for your writing? Like, have you been? I've been I've written privately for like 20 something years, but
Hmm.
then just recently for the politics show, I started sharing some stuff that I've been writing, and I've actually learned more about AI through the writing process because what it when I first started. When I first started using ChatGPT, and now I use Claude a lot more, it wanted to rewrite my pieces. Like it thought that I
Hmm.
was giving it an idea that I was asking it to write something for me. So now I've learned that I basically need to instruct my AI like why I'm using it. So for me, I like the way that I've been writing is I do what I call my id version. You know,
Hmm.
V1 is basically just my id like screaming.
Yeah.
But what I'm using AI for is friends of mine who are like professional journalists, as they describe their back and forth with really good editors. Like an editor will push back and be like, "Hey, this section is really loose. You might want to think about X, Y, and Z." You know, and
Hmm.
obviously grammar and stuff like that. It'll correct my grammar and stuff. But then it also sometimes it'll go so far. I will let it go so far as to do what I think of as scaffolding. Like,
Hmm.
hey, this section is too much of an outtake, and you might want to put that down here, get rid of it altogether. Like, so it's really more, like I said, it's more of like a live editor for me as opposed to a
Yeah.
even a co-writer, let alone a writer. Is that kind of how
Yeah.
you've been using it, or do you use it differently?
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, it's definitely like I use it as a research tool kind of first, the first iteration.
Yeah.
Um, be like, hey, round up all of like what's going on in the town, yeah. And then later I have a separate kind of chat on there right now where I primed, I think it's called priming. I don't know. One of my girlfriend's brother-in-law is super into he's like a data scientist, so he knows all about all this stuff. So he's like, you have to tell the AI what it is before you give it information, and then you get better information out of it. So I was like,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I'm writing a newsletter. This is kind of what I want to do. This is the vibe I'm going for. You are an editor in at the company I work for, and I need advice on how to shape this up or to refine this or like what would an editor in my industry think if I put this out right now? And so like those are the things that I find really helpful. Um, and a lot of them and the first time I did it, it was like way too supportive, like, oh, this is the best idea anyone's ever had. And I was like, no, like cut all the bullshit out. Like what I'm actually gonna put this out and I need to like my like reputation is kind of on it. And then it was like, you're way too nice. You need to make it way meaner. And I was like, no, I'm also have to see these people when they come in for mixes. So I have to like walk that line. And then from
There's
there
a
on, it's
way to
been
be
really helpful.
there's a way to be constructively critical and honest while still edifying and complimentary. You know, like I don't the job is hard enough. You know,
Hmm.
um, I I just don't see any need, honestly,
Yeah.
to like get like catty. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like so.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you say that. It's something that in the first version of the trailer brief I put out, before I put it out, I had one that was a little bit more critical, like a trailer analysis. I was like, I feel like this isn't working or this. And then I read it like this just sounds mean. And then I was thinking about when I was working at Outpost, they let me cut one trailer when I was there. I mean, they didn't let me, like I probably had more opportunities to do it, but there was one trailer that they're like, hey, we want you to work on this. And it was for some, I think, Grindstone movie. The trailer was so bad, and like thinking about it now, I'm like, man, if I put out that shitty trailer and someone who I don't know wrote about it in the first edition of their newsletter, I would have quit. I would not be in this industry anymore. It'd be so disheartening. Something that I worked so hard on that I know is kind of shitty, and then someone I don't know just like rips on it in their newsletter. It'd be
So
brutal.
I have a recommendation for you.
Yeah.
There was a writer, there was a theater critic that wrote for the New York Times for many years. His name is Harold Clurman.
So
Clurman
clever.
was actually one of the co-founders of the group theater, where Lee Strasberg, Stella Adler, Sandy Meisner was one of the actors. Like some of the greatest teachers and contributors to American theater and then teachers of some of the greatest, actors of the 20th century and beyond, all came out of. But Clurman was one of the co-founders and directors. But then after group theater broke up, he started writing for the New York Times. The reason I bring him up is when you read his criticism, it's very different than a lot of film criticism today, where sometimes film critics are really just looking for their headline, to be grabbed and shared, and go viral. His criticism was really instructive. You felt like every time you read one of his pieces, it was instructing you about the play itself, like the production itself, but also it often provided context and was constructive about where it fit in to American theater, or the social commentary it was making, and then he obviously was in a great position to be able to understand what was happening from an acting, directing, production value standpoint. So that was all really good too. But it was just a different kind of criticism than we're used to today.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of a throwback, but a way throwback. But I don't know. It would be, I think it would be informative for how you can treat pieces as well.
Yeah, thanks. I'll have to look that up. That's really great advice. It's something that I've been kind of struggling with. Right now, I kind of took the stance of like, if I don't really like something, I just won't include it in the
Yeah.
newsletter. It's only so long, but for as I gain more traction, hopefully, and have more kind of exposure, and if this does eventually turn into more of like a legit website or trade magazine, I'll need to incorporate all those
You know
things.
it's so I was really fired up when you told me about it because it's fitting into an ecosystem of people lifting each other up and lifting others up. We had Chris McDonald with Behind the Trailer on just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
Johnny
that was a
Elwin
great
with what
episode.
he's doing with TWMT. Helen is just ubiquitous with all the great stuff that she's doing to mentor and the different charities that we have involved. Different people, Patrick Starr and Laurie Brown and Jackson George. And just so many people are really contributing in big, big ways. So this is another really encouraging ingredient to the community, and much needed and much appreciated. So I was just really thankful that he thought of it, and especially when I saw it, man, I'm like, this is fucking cool. This is great.
Thanks. Yeah, you were the first person I thought of when I like had the idea and I kind of got the rough draft together. I was like, oh man, I need Corey to check this out and hopefully he likes it. If he doesn't like it, I'm not going to put it out. And yeah, you're like
There's
the
no
best
way.
trailer. I think I said that in my text to you. I was like, you're like the best trailer historian I know. And like I kind of need your context on whether this is appropriate to put out. And so yeah, your support means so much. And I'm learning more about like Chris McDonald's thing. I listened to that episode last week and that's really cool. I reached out to him. I didn't reach out. I messaged or I friended him on LinkedIn or followed him. So I'm looking forward to seeing more stuff he does. And then Johnny Allen was as soon as I put it out, he was in my inbox talking about his tool. And so that's going to be a great way of searching trailers for the future episodes going on TWMT and finding those. And then Jules Levy, I don't know if you're familiar with his
He's a
um,
great writer. Yeah,
LinkedIn.
Jules is a great
Yes.
writer. Yeah.
So I didn't know about what he does every Tuesday, is Trailer Tuesday Roundup. So I started following that, and it's been nice, kind of feeling that there's like a community out there that is really interested and supportive, and no one has been had anything bad to say about what I put out yet. So that's
Good.
been yeah, really encouraging.
That's good. So speaking of encouraging and community, we have been through a lot. As you pointed out, you started just right before COVID hit. How have you
Mhm.
gotten through it, man? Like it's been 6 years, over
Yeah.
6 years since COVID. But what a ride it's been! Double fire or fires, double strikes. Like the zombie apocalypse, I think is coming. So
Yeah.
how have you gotten through it?
Dude, good question. I honestly feel like the industry doesn't want me to be here, and just like the town in general, as soon as I got here, it's been nothing but turmoil. Every meeting I've ever been in since I started has just been like, we got to get back to how it used to be. It's not always like this. I'm like, I don't know. My whole experience has been kind of downhill. So I just, yeah, try to do good work and stay focused and stay involved. And that's one of the reasons why I started doing this is to like be engaged. Um, I need to find more time outside of work, I think, to fill myself like with creativity. One of the questions that Jake Torm asked me during my interview at Picturehead was like, if you want to be a finisher, which like I don't think anyone my age really wants to be a finisher aside from me, I don't. um, what are your creative outlets? Because you're clearly like a creative person. I'm like, I really don't have any. I kind of just work and I don't edit anything anymore because I'm finishing. And so I started taking pottery classes as a
Oh,
way of like
wow.
filling that creative void, and it's been so fulfilling. I stopped doing it just because I got too busy and it was a little expensive, but I need to get back into doing it. I have a whole box of unfinished pieces that I need to glaze and stuff. But it's been such a good like meditative exercise for me because when you're there for like 2, 3 hours, no phone because you're covered in clay and water, and you can like truly disconnect from everything that's kind of going on at work or whatever. And you're working on the wheel, and so if you get distracted for a second, your whole piece will be destroyed. So you really have to be grounded and centered. So yeah, that has been probably like the saving grace for me
That's
getting
really
through
cool.
all of this.
I bet you're going to find that writing too is a really good outlet. I mean, I know it's about the industry, so it's not really getting away from it, but it's just an extension and a very different discipline and different
Hmm.
parts of your brain and your soul that are being called upon.
Yeah,
So
I've
I've
found that absolutely. And like getting back to the journalism roots has been really helpful for me personally, but the actually act of writing has been really helpful. I do it after work. I get off. I work a weird shift over at Picturehead. I'm there from like 2 p.m. to midnight-ish. So once I'm off, I kind of like lock in my day for another 30 minutes and watch a trailer and break it down. And it's just a good way of ending the day.
Yeah, yeah. I've been so I have this Substack that I've been writing and sharing stuff, but it's like I said, it's more for my politics side.
Mm-hmm.
But the funny thing is the ones that I write that are a little adjacent to the TPNR work, that program that we're involved with, the civic renewal work. Like I shared one. I have two dogs. One of my dogs is Bailey Abigail. She's a chocolate lab and she's 15, and
Oh.
she's kind of rounding third, and it's the last chapter of her life, and the melancholy of that I wrote about. It's not a political
Mhm.
issue, obviously, but that one got a lot of engagement. I also wrote a much more personal one about my mental health. Like I have a diagnosis, bipolar diagnosis. So,
Mm.
I shared about that. That got a lot of engagement. I guess people don't want to talk about politics and religion like I do. But anyway, I
Yeah, I
bring it up
think like
because,
those really honest and authentic stories resonate with people. A lot of people are
yeah,
dealing with stuff, and yeah, good for you for writing about it.
yeah. Maybe I'll start writing about the trailer industry. I've been in this industry a while, so I might.
You should. I'm honestly like, if I want to scale this in any sort of meaningful way, I'm going to need other people to help out. And I'm honestly like so open to anyone who wants to come like write either one of the established sections right now,
It was
like
really cool to
the
see Benny's commentary. You included Benny's
Mhm.
commentary, when Trailer Park obviously closing, which is kind of a momentous moment. It's a momentous time in our industry. Seeing Trailer Park wasn't the Jim, Tim, Benny Trailer Park obviously anymore, but still, like seeing it shut down is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it
So
was sad. Yeah, he's such an icon, someone who I respect. I haven't really I worked on probably one or two projects with him when I'm at Picturehead and he's at Rebel now. And so I just seeing his name on an email, I was like, oh wow, that's I get to work with Benedict. Yeah, I don't feel comfortable calling him Benny yet.
oh.
And so I sent him an email just like, hey, thank you for everything you've done in the industry and yada yada. And he was really, really nice. He wrote me a nice message back. And so I've been following him on LinkedIn for a long time. And I saw he commented on someone's post about how what trailer park closing means, and it was really well written, and
Yeah.
I think really captures what the state of the industry is right now, which is what one of my main goals is with this publication. And so I reached out to him and I was like, "Hey, like I saw you commented this. Do you mind if I posted my thing?" And he's like, "Yeah, use it." I'm like, cool.
That's awesome. That's great. Good for Benny. So we're I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but we're due to do kind of a tribute to Trailer Park. So keep an ear out for that. There's
Nice.
some OGs that are still like kicking ass in the industry, that were
Yeah.
part of the very early days of Trailer Park. So
Yeah, I would really love for one of yeah, so like I have my established sections. If anyone wants to come on, if they have an idea for something they want to write about, I'm super open to it. And then the one thing I really want to include, because it's important in documenting the history of where the industry is, if I want to have like a deep dive into kind of what your podcast will probably cover, but more on like a written essay
Yeah.
format of either someone who was there the last month or 2 months and kind of saw what was going on, or from the early days, because it seems like such an incredible place to work, everything I've heard about.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, you know what? I don't think it's unfair to say I give Erica and Joshua and just that whole team such credit, like
Mhm.
because they were fighting an uphill battle there. Um, yeah, I don't want to say too much, but I think
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for the team that they put together, the work that they were doing. They're everybody over there. There's so many people, editors too, and even juniors that are just hitting their stride that they're going to be fine. I know it's easy for me to say because I'm the outside looking in, but I'm telling you, man, I saw some of that work that was coming out of there, and they're going to be okay. They
Yeah.
were doing great work together as a team. They're still, and they had all of them, every one of them that I've spoken to. They still have a lot to contribute to this industry. So,
Yeah. I know
um,
there's going to be like a phoenix rising from those
yeah,
ashes.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So where do you see things headed, man? Like, you're just talk about just hitting your stride. You're really hitting your stride in this industry. Been in it for 7+ years, and where do you see things going from
Thanks.
here?
Yeah, funny you say that. I'm working on going back to school right now. I need to submit after we get off this call. I'll probably wrap up my essays and submit my application. I'm trying to get into USC's part-time MBA program.
Oh wow,
And I talked to everyone at Picturehead. They're really supportive about it. So I'll work in the morning and then go to school at night for the next 2 years. Fingers crossed I get in, and then from there, I don't know. I feel myself. I never considered myself anything but an editor, and I still like that's kind of what I feel drawn to. But if I'm going to be producing, I want to be leading something. So getting into a leadership position either at Picturehead or a studio eventually, and kind of climbing that ladder as far as it'll go, and looking at the people and positions that I want to be in now, especially on the studio side. Everyone is either a lawyer, have an MBA, or a Nepo baby, and I missed the Nepo baby rung on that ladder. So,
there you go.
yes, keep working hard and see where it'll go.
Yeah, good, good. So now we get a couple of fun questions.
Mhm.
I'm sure you knew I was going to ask you this, but so hopefully it's not putting you on the spot too much. Favorite campaign or piece of creative advertising, not necessarily one that you worked on.
Yeah. When I was in college, I kind of shrugged off all trailer stuff. I didn't like pay attention to it. I know that being in theaters, there were things that I was like really, oh, this is fucking cool, but
Yeah.
not something that really stuck in my brain until I was at Outpost, and I was like cutting cut downs of we'd get trailers in full length ones, and I'd cut it into 30s and then cut those into 25, 10, 15-second spots. And the first one that I saw was the Uncut Gems trailer, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I was like, I want to work at a place that does something like this. And then I got Samantha Heilig was a recruiter who hooked me up with Grandson. And so she's like, oh yeah, take a look at the website. Like they're gonna ask you about it. And like, okay. And then on their homepage was the Uncut Gems trailer. I was like, whoa, this is cool.
Yeah.
Get to work at like with the guys who made it. And then gosh, aside from that, the Wolf of Wall Street trailer I feel like is so good.
Yeah.
And something that people of my generation just like it was everywhere online.
Yeah.
Uh, um, I was going back through and doing research for the trailer brief. The Clios have a page of the top 50 influential trailers of all time. And they had a lot of like Benedict wrote about it.
Yeah.
They got like a lot of important people on um, and kind of rounded up what they thought were good. So I started watching all those, and Doctor Strangelove is one of my favorite movies, and the trailer for that is so funny. It's like 3.5 minutes. It's just insane. Uh, it feels like something that could have been made today by some, I don't know, just like some kid who wants to make something funny. And that one, I was laughing out loud last week watching that. The Battle LA trailer is not a movie I've ever seen, but the trailer for that I saw on that list, and that one's freaking great. Um, I was doing the trailer brief this week, and FX posted their Welcome to Wrexham trailer, which had that monkey song, I'm
Oh
a
yeah.
Believer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then I was watching other trailers from around the time, and Jojo Rabbit has a really
Oh yeah.
fun trailer, and that one is using the same song, but they remixed it in German, which is
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
So that one definitely stands out too. Um,
I love
yeah, I
that. I
think.
love that you picked up on the Doctor Strangelove trailer because that was, in a way, there were a couple of filmmakers. Kubrick obviously was one of them.
Mm.
Um, that is the reason that the trailer industry emerged the way it
Huh.
did in the late 60s, early 70s. Is because prior to that, it was National Screen Service or something like that. And
Mm.
it was one company that was doing all the trailers. And they were all very kind of formulaic because it was just like more informational. But Kubrick and what's his name that directed The Birds and Psycho. I'm blanking
Hitchcock.
say it again?
Hitchcock, is that?
Hitchcock. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I can't believe I forgot his name. Anyway, so Hitchcock and Kubrick and were like, no, we're going to create something. We're going to do something different because we want. They just had a different way of introducing audiences to what they made, to their film, to their baby,
Mhm.
And then you get guys like Tony Seiniger, who just passed away, may he rest in peace. Others who were, early, we did a whole series on Andy Keene with Benny, actually.
Mhm.
Guys like that, guys like Steve Panama, who were, who saw this from the studio side and were like, they were starting to craft what became the industry as we know it. Because not too long after that, like early 70s, mid 70s, you had the campaigns for Jaws. Jaws was really the one
Mhm.
that was like the flagpole that was like, okay, now things are changing. So shortly after that was the original Star Wars campaign, and man, and that's the industry as we know it kind of took off from there.
That's
So
cool. I didn't know that.
yeah,
Yeah, I would love that's something I want to cover in the newsletter. I think it's just like a timeline of like what from the inception of what the trailers were through now. There's so many shops that came and went, and
yeah,
people who moved all over the state trying to start things different places and all over the country. I remember someone moved a shop up to like Seattle or something, or trying to recruit people, and then it
yeah.
fell apart. And there's just a lot of things like that that I don't want to get lost in the history because as far as I know, there's like no history book on trailers.
Well, there's a documentary. There is some stuff out there. A lot of times, though, when the industry is covered, it goes askance because
Hmm.
it's hard to understand this industry without being in the industry.
Yeah.
So inevitably, not that voiceover guys don't matter. They certainly have a big part to play in the history of the industry, but they're not the industry. So I bring it up because a lot of time, the first articles that I was seeing, it was about once a year, and it would always be on the in a world guy, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's great, but that's just not the industry and that's not the craft. And there's so many other great people that are involved in it, for decades now, for 50 plus years. So
Hmm.
the industry as we know it. So that's good. I'm glad that you feel passionate about it too. All right. Um, Now you get to turn the tables on me.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. There are okay. So this one you can ignore if you don't feel comfortable answering it. If you were to start a shop today, a small trailer shop, who are the people you'd pluck in to be a part of it? I don't know, like your five multifaceted
Do we have a time machine?
trucks.
Can I pick anybody through history, or is this a now thing?
I was thinking now, but yeah, I'm curious. I just don't know. Yeah, I'm curious who would be in the past also, I guess.
It's a hard question. I'm not going to answer it directly because I'm inevitably going to answer it in such a way. I mean, I have certain people that I think are really doing it right.
Hmm.
What I'll say is there are shops that there are shops that just get answer the big questions the right way. And
Hmm.
the big questions when I've looked at them are they getting interesting projects? Are they really working hard to bring in interesting projects? Are they doing great creative? And most importantly, when you walk in the shop, are people happy to be there and are they happy to be there among each other?
Hmm.
So a good friend of mine, Seth Altoff, is one of the founders of Bond. Like him and his partners and his founding partners, they they answer those questions. You know, um, Chad Miller, and Brent and Tommy and Ashley and them at AV Squad, they answer those questions. Like, and they check all those boxes. I'm not saying others don't, but I'm saying there's a couple of shops that are just really special. There's a lot of good shops that are doing great work and a lot of really great people doing it. But there are some shops that are. We talked a lot about Grandson. How special it is from a creative standpoint, how thoughtful he is in terms of everything that he shapes. You know, I I'm I'm going to be remiss because inevitably there are so many people doing really really special work. But
Hmm.
I think there are certain people that really deserve major props because it's just like next level. Without going into too much, well, any honestly, anything else I say, I'm going to get myself into trouble by not, by not including certain people.
Yeah, definitely don't want to get in trouble.
But there are definitely certain people that are just truly, truly special. So if I were to like, this is an imaginary thing because I'm not going to do anything like this, but those are the people, those are the types of people that I'd want to do it with because the business
Hmm.
is just so damn hard.
Yeah.
Do it with people that are good people, that are ethical people, that are have um, a what I think of as a servant leader's heart, you know. So I don't mind saying that about Chad Miller. I don't mind saying that about Seth Altoff. Like they truly have servant leaders' hearts. Um, you know. So anyway, that's what comes to mind. I hope I didn't get myself into too much trouble, but
Yeah, sorry.
if you're
Um,
bent about it, and go fuck off. I don't care. I'm just kidding. Sort of kidding. Anyway.
a couple things I was wondering because in doing the trailer brief, I'm gonna have my first interview with one of my old assistant editors coming up here. What, from your perspective, makes a good interviewee and a good interviewer? Like, what have you learned while doing this that made you a better podcaster?
The phrase that comes to mind is it's not going to make complete sense, but read the book.
Hmm.
Um, so I I had an advantage when I started doing this show because what I was really doing was a version of what I had already been doing for 20 years. Meaning my job wasn't to recruit people. My job was to develop relationships with people. And to get to know people, like actually get to know them. So I had this structure whenever I took somebody out to lunch or drinks or whatever. I had the structure of getting to know them. Like, hey, where are you from? Oh, that's cool. Like, and getting to know their background, and then getting to know their career trajectory. How'd you break into the industry? And oh, how'd you get from here to there? How'd you get from Cimarron to Kaleidoscope, a Kaleidoscope to Seiniger, and all the shops that are no longer around now. Um, so getting to know their career trajectory, then getting to know specific projects that they worked on, then getting to know like how they crafted the different projects that they worked like. So that was how my meetings went. When I took somebody out to lunch, so a very close version of that became the interviews for. And the funny thing is I was bringing back all my old notebooks from my lunches with people that
Uh,
first year of people I was bringing on the show, so I could prep properly for the interviews. Now, when I started my other shows, because I have a sports show, I have a politics show, and I produce a whole bunch of other shows. And especially for the politics show, I'm not from that industry. I'm not an elected official. I'm not a journalist. So I had to really prepare for every interview. When I say read the book, it meant that if somebody came on and they had a book, I fucking read it, man. And then from actually reading the book, I learned a couple of tricks. Now I'm going to share one of my secrets. Is some of the best questions come from the very, very end of the book, the acknowledgments. I
mm,
used to not, when I read a book, I used to not read the acknowledgments, but prepping for an interview, there's some gold in them acknowledgments. Like somebody's like, "Oh, I just want to thank my grandfather for all those rides in the blue pickup truck," and so I could start my interview with somebody that doesn't know me and I don't know them by asking about their granddad and how they inspired them to get into the industry or into politics or into journalism or whatever. So all that to say, I think being there's two things in tension with what I've found to be good interviewers that I've studied is is prepare really well, put a lot of time into preparation, and then when you get into the interview, just throw it all out. Obviously have your notes and have your preparation with you, but if you're totally scripted, it's going to be a really uninteresting interview. Every conversation, especially for podcasting, takes on a life of its own. So prep really, really well, and then throw your preparation out and just be with the person. Ask the follow-ups, be curious, lean into curiosity. So I don't know. Does
That's
that
great.
help?
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And I guess kind of along those lines then, so you've learned a lot doing this. Are there any podcasts that you wish you could kind of go back and redo now that you have this different approach?
Oh man. Um, it's a good question. What comes to mind is, so between all the different shows we do, there has to be about 1,000 or more episodes total. And I can literally count on one hand how many of those interviews I regret having
Mm.
for one reason or another. Whether the person turned out to be an asshole, or I don't want to say I never fucked up, because I'm still learning the craft of interviewing people. I'm still learning the medium of podcasting, definitely learning. Um, but because I'm still nervous before I hit record on every single interview I do, the fear thing leads me to never enter into an interview unprepared,
Mhm.
because I'm so scared that I'm going to fuck it up. So I don't think there's been one where I've been unprepared. Um, I've been in awkward position. Oh, okay. There was an interview that I thought went horribly that ended up really having that people still. I did it in the fall of 2023. When I did the politics show, the first person on the list that I wanted to interview was a guy named David Brooks. Wrote for the New York Times for many years, writes for the Atlantic now. And he just is the writer that, for many reasons, I resonated with more than just about any writer still working today. And I got him on my show, and his last book is called How to Know a Person. And there's one chapter in that book about his friend Pete, one of his best friends that he grew up with. And Pete tragically succumbed to suicide. He struggled with his depression his whole adult life, and succumbed to it in early 2023. So there was in my preparation, I wrote a big note to myself: thank David for the chapter about Pete, and then in big bold letters, don't talk about it. So I get to that point in the interview, and I couldn't even ask. Well, so I could barely ask the question. I could barely say thank you for that chapter on Pete. Could barely get through that. And what David does is he goes, "That looks like that really affected you. Tell me about that." And cried my eyes out, dude. I fucking full on bawled because I was in the
Wow.
midst of this process that led to the diagnosis that I told you about.
Yeah.
And literally, it was like 10 minutes. I just couldn't bring myself
Mm.
put myself together. David was so patient. He was so gracious. We ended up editing it down so that people didn't have to suffer through me blubbering. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of it still in that interview. And I thought,
Wow.
this is the one guy of all people I wanted to interview, and I just can't. I don't want to even share this. It turns out that more people mention that interview, partly because it's David Brooks, but partly because of how personal it was.
Mm.
So what I thought was just awful and terrible and whatever, it's, to your point, it was just a very human moment, that not only were they drawn to it and learned something about David that they hadn't seen, a side of David Brooks that they hadn't seen before, but also because of the topic that we were delving into and how vulnerably we were delving into it. So yeah, what looks like it might be a disaster may very well be where something special happens. So
Yeah, no, that vulnerability is something that audiences always audiences, but just like people relate with, everyone's dealing with stuff. And so I think trying to put up the facade that everything's going well isn't always, s- worth it or
you know, and
worthwhile.
and that's the thing, man. So I got a vibe from reading your work that you were that that you were writing in an informed, an entertaining way too. So I was engaged in the material and interested in the material, but you were writing in such a way where I felt like it was conversational, so that it was a conversation with me personally, right? And that's just really something special that you can do. We try to do that on this show where I don't think of the audience generally. I think of this person and this person and this person, and I think of them personally because they are part of the conversation. They're not talking on this one, but they're it's almost like they're at the table with us having the conversation. We just happen to be the ones talking on this one. And when you write, I feel like you intuitively have a sense of that it's not a general audience, that it's personal, and you're including the reader in this conversation that you're having. Are you trying to do that, or is that just something that you kind of that comes across in your writing that I'm picking up on?
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, it's not something that I feel like I set out when I start writing, but it is just a stylistic thing. Like it's something that I appreciate when people write kind of just like from their heart or like kind of off the cuff, more casually. But I also want to make sure that someone reading it can take something from it, like feel like they learned something.
Yeah.
My parents were the first people to read the first one, and they're like, I think it's a little kind of jargony. I'm like, yeah, but you're also like not necessarily the audience. I don't want to stray away from that because the people reading it might appreciate it. I feel like when I became a producer, the way that I gained the most respect from the editors is like talking like an editor does and using terms like coming up with solutions and like actually with ways to action them.
Yeah.
And make sure like they know that I have been in the seat before and I'm not telling them to do anything that I wouldn't be able to kind of do myself, or at least have an idea of how we can maybe solve a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I could do this all day, but
Yeah.
podcast episodes have to wrap at a certain point. So
Uh,
before we go, though, how can folks find the trailer brief and make sure to keep up with all the great work that you're doing?
yeah. Oh, thank you. Right now the website is kind of a mouthful, but it's the dash trailer dash brief dot beehive beehiiv.com. That's the site that's hosting it right now. I think the easiest way might just be following me on LinkedIn. It's yeah, just my name, Logan Gruidl, Gruidl. And I've trying to keep updates with how that's coming along on the LinkedIn page.
I'll be sure
It's
to put links in the show notes so folks can just click on that and save that for both your
cool.
LinkedIn profile as well as the trailer brief. Um,
Thanks.
all right. We covered a lot. Is there anything important that we haven't covered so far that you want to add before we say so long?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I feel like yeah, we got through a lot. Thank you so much. It's been so much fun. You said you were nervous. I feel like I was nervous too. I was like scrawling notes right before you hopped on. I was like, oh, but yeah, this went great. I love doing this.
Well, Logan. It's always cool to hang out with you, man. And not when you're stacking me at John's trailer poker game, um, but
Oh
other than
no.
that, no, even that's fun. John puts on a great game. But this is great, man. I enjoyed hanging out with you, and let's grab a beer or something soon, like right around the corner. All right.
Yeah, I'd love that. Please text me. Yeah, we'll stay in touch.
All
And
right.
hopefully
Sounds
I'll see
good.
you at poker. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good, buddy. All right, and thank you for listening. As always, please rate us and review us. Hey, we haven't gotten a review in a while, so leave us a review. And if it's good, I'll read it on the air. If it's bad, I'll read it on the air too. Like, give me shit. That's fine too. No, it does really help us so more folks can discover the show and, learn about things like the trailer brief and, this great industry and all the wonderful people who are doing it. I'm easy to find on all the socials. I'm at Corey S. Nathan, Corey, S as in Sam, Nathan. Check out our awesome sponsor, the Golden Trailer Awards, and really grateful to those folks for helping us keep the lights on. Thank you again for joining us. Now go do some inspired work.